Hey guys, welcome to the 17th episode in our multiplayer tutorial, and today I'll be working on going through this save and load template that I made. Now, let's just test it out. So, in this template, we can load, well, not really load any maps, but I've just set it up so that it will be easy to transfer into a game. So, there are no maps created. You can click to create a new map, create one here, or clear, and it will bring up a note. Are you sure you want to clear the entire list? This action cannot be undone. Yes. So let's create a map, and this is more like not a map but just a name. So the name of this map will be map 1 underscore 1. Spacebar won't work, so save it and quit, and it will appear up here with the specific time and the date. We can also create other maps. And all these maps will make other files. And if you want to enter the map, just click it and it will load. We can also overwrite this file. So this file called map1 was made 6 o'clock 15 minutes and 58 seconds. So if we create another map called map1, it will overwrite. So instead of 15 minutes, it will be 16 minutes and 54 seconds. If we overwrite it again, 17 minutes and 7 seconds. So that's how that works. We can also remove maps individually by clicking this delete button, and the maps underneath will replace, or we can clear the entire list of maps. So I'm just going to save 5 maps, and you can remove them, and that's how it works. Well, that's what happens. So this is basically how our maps would work. We give it our map name, width and height, and we press create, and then we move around with the editor. When we're ready to save, just save it and quit, and it will come back here with the specific map. Just remember not to use spacebar, because if we write a map underscore 1, if we save that, it's if we write map spacebar 1 and save it, you'll see that the name comes up here, but unlike map 1 where it reloads map 1, when we try to load this, it will say undefined. And then if we save it again, quit, it will go to undefined. So that's why we don't use spacebars. So that's why I restricted spacebars in our game. Now that I've shown you what it's going to do, I'll show you how we're going to make it happen. I'm just going to explain the code. We won't be actually using it in our game yet, but this is a template itself. This will be editor details, where we load, well, we enter the details to load the map or create it. And code this has code after the stuff. It loads the it loads a shared object, which is the file used to save the entire list, save all the list of maps. And that will, you can name it whatever you like, but just make it a unique name to other saved objects, or you might overwrite a saved object from another game if it has the same name in it. Then after we do that, list box dot content path is equal to the list, we set the scroll pane path to what we have the code to go into. This is the list. This is where the entire list goes up. So when we go in the scroll pane and properties where we can set content path to whatever we like, since we may need to uh, clear maps and reset content path, we use this code instead. And in the code the list, that's where it loads up everything, but it just appears inside this scroll pane since the scroll pane's content part of that. This is the clear button. The code, when it clears button, it adds a warning that says are you sure you want to clear the map? And then down here, this is where it adds the notifier, and if you press yes, it will clear the map. Then it will reset the content path, because if it doesn't reset the content path, then it won't change. So if I have 3 names up here and I clear the entire map, it will still look like it's there, but when we reset it, it's actually not. So we need to continue resetting the content path. That's like refreshing the map itself. And mgtlist.clear. mgtlist is the name of the shared object, which is the entire list, so it clears all the data from there, which removes everything and makes it clear. And according to whatever code there is inside this movie clip that I called the list, that code runs to not show up anything because there's nothing there anymore. And then it removes the movie clip that was added, which asks us the question. The no button just cancels the operation, doesn't do anything. And the create button, this just goes to the map, well, the editor scene. And onto the editor scene, all I've set up in the editor scene is a string of text for testing purposes. All this does is saves a name to the file and actually gives that file the name that's specified here, and well, so it will be able to load. So you can save or you can quit without doing anything. So if I test it and I create something but I do not save, I just press quit, it will not be created unless I've saved it. And when we save it, you realize that it may stick. The button will like stick for a few seconds. That's because it's being saved. So into this code now, after we create the stop, of course, just note the instance name for this is editor scene, well, the label name, and this one here is editor define, well, editor D. So after we stop it, we create the save data for the list, and we say if the list, if the map, we'll create a variable in this list data called max number, which will check the max number of, well, the amount of maps we have. So the list of maps, about 3 maps, the max number will be 3. So if this is undefined, well, if it's not equal to undefined, so if the max number already exists, then a variable in the game itself called list number will be whatever the max number was. But if the max number is not yet defined, so if it's undefined, if it does not have any value whatsoever, meaning there are no maps, then this number will be equal to 1. After that, we check whether the map is being loaded. So whenever the map is being loaded, which is in the list movie clip, it will set global.loadedMap to true. And if global.loadedMap is to true, then it will call the function here called loadMap, and of course go to this frame, and then global.loadedMap is equal to false, and then go on to the other code. But if at the start of the game global.loadedMap was false, then root.myText will be equal to nothing, which this will be equal to nothing. And in the load map function is where it sets this text to whatever the name was, which we'll get to that. So after that, we check the time on dates. This is what tells us the date: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it calls var my date, which is a new date. These are just I put a T and an underscore after all of these things so that in case I made other variables or you made other variables in your game with this. So this will be time. So in case you want to put seconds again, you can put something else like v seconds or seconds. So let's just leave that as it is. So this calls seconds, which will be my date dot get seconds, minutes, hours, day, date, month, and year. And then we check if hours is more than 12, then AM PM will be PM, and the hours will be, if the hours was like 13, it will become 1 o'clock and it'll be 1 PM. Else if it's if this is more than 12, then that will happen. If this is less than 12, it will be the hours and it will say AM. And then after it checks if the hours is 0, then it resets to 12. Checks for the minutes, checks for the seconds. Say if the seconds is less than 10, it will be the string 0 plus seconds. So if the time was 6 minutes, 5 minutes, and 3 seconds, it will be 0, 3 instead of just 3. So if the seconds is less than 10, then put a 0 in front of it and then the actual second. And it's same for minutes up here. Then day, checks if the day, well, Flash doesn't return days in strings, so it actually returns it in 0 to 6. So we want to check if the day is 0, then it will be Sunday, 1 Monday, 2 Tuesday, 3 Wednesday, 4 Thursday, 5 Friday, and 6 Saturday. And for the months as well, 0 to 11, January to December. Then after, we set the time final, which is the summed ups of all of what the current time is, which will be hours, colon, minutes, colon, seconds, and if it's AM or PM. And then after, it checks the final dates, which is the date like 10th of whatever month, and then the current year. So when we save something now, the date will be Wednesday, 3rd of June 2015, and the time is whatever time it is, if it's AM or PM. So this time is actually 18 hours past, but since it's more than 12, it will be 18 minus 12, which is 6, and it will turn to PM. AM PM variable will be PM. Then after that, it checks when we want to save our map, and when we want to save our map, it opens a variable that's different from the map list. So I've put it as MGT, which is short for multiplayer game tutorial. And down here, this is the multiplayer game tutorial list, and the name for the actual file is multiplayer tutorial. Note, this is the variable you name it as, and this is the file that it will actually be on everyone's computer. So you can put this as Bob or whatever you need, but just make this inside here unique. So we can have this as Bob as well, but it might be mixed up. But once this is unique, it will be, it should access it. So after we set it, our variable. We call it with, well, what we want it to save on a person's computer as will be mgt, so it will know that it belongs to this multiplayer game plus whatever the name of the map is. So if the map was Bob, it will be, the save file name will be mgt Bob or mgt Sam, mgt1 or mgt gibberish or whatever you had it as. So that would be the name of the map, and then it will call a variable. It will make a variable called map name, which will also save the map again, and the object depth, which is undefined right now because this is not all game with object depths, but this is here since we have object depth and we would need object depth. And the text, which is just this text here, and there's two, a map name and a map type. Well, this is from something, well, another document of a game that I had, but it's just there to, it will help with saving and loading, so it's just there. And then after we save the map, we call the function to check time, which will make these variables whatever they need to be, and we call the function to save the list. And when we save the list, we call back the list object, make a for loop with using k, and check if it's less than the list number, and we check. So if the mgt list number, and number is what we've set as the name of the map, so don't get confused there. Number just means map name. So if the map name was Bob, then number will be Bob, but of course the file name will be mgt Bob. So if this here is equal to whatever our map name was, so if Bob is here and Bob is there, then just overwrite the file and overwrite the time it existed and its positions. Well, this is the position as the actual number value on the list, like it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth. It's not arranged in alphabetical order, but this position is necessary for when deleting objects so that it goes up without being mixed up or deleting completely. So if it already exists, just overwrite it and flush. And this flush function calls so that it saves everything and you can be able to get reference from the files again. But if, for instance, up here we checked if Bob was equal to Bob. So if this file already existed in save list, we'll overwrite. But if this file does not exist in the save file, then we call the function add a new line, which is right here. And when we add a new line, just add a new line, update everything or the new file on that line, and we check few different things, and then we may need to go back to save it again. But this does not run infinitely. This actually works pretty fine. And this is where we load the map. We call the function mgt, and the file name is global.new document name. Document name, global.new document name is set inside the list movie clip. So that movie clip is very important, and it's just resets the object depth, global the name, which is the name of the map, and the text, which sends the text back to being what it was, and then it just resets the editor and the map type to what it should be. So if you just press Ctrl and F, find next. Right, so it's down here in save list, so the number is equal to editor map name, which is the name of the map. So editor map name is important. So back to load map, that's what this does. it don't need to flush after you load the map because you're not changing any variables in the map in the save data. After we load the map, well, after the load map function, there is this button that saves it, and it calls the function save map and sets global the name to whatever the text is once the text is not blank or nothing whatsoever. And the quit button just goes back to the editor details. Now let's go into the list. In the list, which I double clicked on it, is nothing actually here, but there's actions on the first frame, and in the frame it calls function to load the list of maps, and I made it a function instead of just on the frame itself because we may inside of here we need to call it again for more things. So after we call the function to load the map and we load it, we make a variable called SRH, which stands for something that I forgot. Save in something. But we open back our list object, which is our file here, and we check to see if the list has any maps. If there's at least one map, then we create a for loop, and if this map on this specific for loop, if this exists, then we want to add a button for it, and the button is the save load list button, which is this button up here. This is where it changes all the date and time and the delete. As you can see, this was quite in 2014, but the action script linkage is the save load list button, so the name of it will be the save load list button, but the new name was L. So after we set it, we want the Y position to be whatever this is, which is SRH -1, so it will be 2 times 40. The reason why I put 40 is because the width of this is 35, so I want it to be in a line coming down, spaced out. So if this is 1, then the Y value will be 1 times 40, which is 40, but it usually starts off at 0, so 0 times 40, 0. The new button underneath will be 1, so this Y position will be 40, the other one will be 2, his Y position will be 80, and that's how you get an entire list of the buttons going down instead of repeating on each other. Then these are the map details between these two lines here, which it sets the number, which the number is actually the name, and the MB dot number. Since it attaches a movie clip, it says this dot attach, so the movie clip will attach inside of the list movie clip. That's why it shows up in the scroll pane. And MB is the button, so it's more like map button. Then MBX, map button deleter, which is this here, and DT is the time, and DD is the date, and that MT is map text for the map name. So that's what these things are for. And the MBX, which is the deleter, his variable called number will actually be the position that we saved it as, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, and we need that for him for a specific reason, because when we delete the map, we actually make whatever value that current map was, that current list data, we set that to undefined, and we make that his position go up by 1. Since we click on him to delete him, we make his position go up by, well, we make the entire list position go up by 1, anything underneath it, and we set his position up. Then we refresh the content path, and since we're in a movie clip, we need to say root.listbox.content path dot refresh. And when we want to enter the map by clicking on the button itself instead of delete, we just press the movie the map button, and it sets global loading map to true, which on scene 1, if global.loading map is equal to true, then load the map. And then it says global.new document name is equal to mgt plus this number, which this number is actually the name. So since we saved each map as mgt plus the name, we load it from global.new document name, which is mgt plus the name as well. So that's how it loads, but it just sets the global variable to that, and then it says root.go to and stop editor scene. So when we press the button, it sets global.map to true. It just makes a variable called new document name that's global and sets it to mgt plus whatever its name was, and we just say root.go to and stop editor scene, where we edit it, checks that it's loading, and loads up the map. But after that, we check if that, since we are deleting some maps, do we want the map number, the max number, to decrease as well? But it does not decrease. So we check if the entire list is equal to undefined, but the max number is still not 0, then we want the max number to minus, so it will go straight down, and we want to reload the list. Reloading the list will set everything to disappear and refresh this whole function, which checks we have nothing. And then when the map does not have the map list, when the map list does not have any maps whatsoever, then we want to create an image telling the user that there are no maps. So we attach the movie no map image, and that no map image is this. And on the create button, we just had a create button here. I give it the instance name of create button, and in the create button we just say that when you release it, root.go to and stop editors. So that's how it will show up once there are no maps. That's basically all there is to it for saving multiple maps. All we really need to do is just give the map different names, create a saved object to save the entire list, and load the entire list. But being able to delete individual items and all those different things will really take a long time, because I made this up by myself since I've been playing games where you can only save up to 3 different slots, and I wanted to make my own that you can create unlimited slots. This took me 1 week to create saving and loading, and about 5 days to create it with deleting maps individually. That was last year, and it took me another week this year to fix all the bugs, and took me 3 days to set up this template individually for this specific video. And that's it for this tutorial. I'm sorry if it took so long, but I'm trying to explain everything as best as I can. If you have any questions, ask me below, and tell me what I missed out, or if I should do it faster or slow down. But most of the code here has its own comments. I added in the comments so that it will be easy to go around. In the next episode, we will carry all these objects into our game itself and place the code accordingly. We may need to change a few variables like this map name. When we want to save the game, we don't actually want to save it to, well, we don't want to save it to global the name, but we don't, well, we'll have to define what the name will be equal to. Since down here, when we save it, we set the name to whatever the text was. When we want to save our game, we'll actually have the name already defined, so we will have to take out this from here. But that's it for now, and I will see you guys later. Bye.